Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach, and today I'm going to be going over some of my picks for some games happening in week one of the college football season. I'm not usually somebody that does a whole lot of college football content. I talk about it a little bit towards like the NFL draft time frame, but this week is kind of a special week for college football. Not only is there three top 10 matchups going on this week. It is also this Saturday is the final college game day for the legendary sports figure Lee Corso after 38 years of doing college game day. So the main reason of this video is just kind of give a quick shout out and thank you to Lee Corso for everything he's done in his career. If it wasn't for Lee Corso and sports personalities like Lee Corso, I don't know if I would be as big of a fan as I am today. So I don't know if I would be making this video if it wasn't for Lee Corso. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Lee Corso before he goes off into retirement. But let's get into some week one games for college football. So the biggest marquee matchup, or one of the biggest marquee matchups, is Texas going to Ohio State. But I will talk about that game later. I think that's one of the top matchups, so that will be the last one I go over. It's also the one that I think will be talked about last on college game day, so I kind of want to talk about it last. So first game I'm going to talk about is the Northwestern Wildcats going to take on the Tulane Green Wave. You have in Northwestern one of the lower tier kind of bottom feeders of the Big Ten, taking on one of the top tier kind of favorites to win the American Conference. I'm not going to give a whole lot of analysis in a lot of these. I do think that Tulane wins this game. Even though they are a lower tier conference, I think they are a more talented team than Northwestern, so I do think they get the victory. Next game I'm going to talk about is University of Texas El Paso, UTEP taking on Utah State. This is two group of six conference teams playing each other. I think Utah State gets the victory here. I think that they are in a better conference, and I just think they are better overall, so I do think they get the win. Now, moving on to one of the top 10 matchups, as you have number 9 LSU going to take on number 4 Clemson. Battle of the Tigers, Battle of Death Valley, battle of two teams that could be competing for playoff spots, two Power 5 conference teams. In LSU, actually both teams have very talented, experienced quarterbacks that are projected to go pretty highly in next year's draft. As for LSU, you have Garrett Nussmeier, and for Clemson, you have Cade Klubnik. Both these teams are very good. Clemson actually made the college football playoff last season, winning the ACC. LSU did fall short. They lost a few games last year, and that wound up costing them. So I do think this is going to be a very good game, and I think this game will primarily, when it comes to be a very close game, I think it'll come down to which team is better coached and which team is better prepared for these big moments. So for that reason, I think that Clemson will win this football game because I trust Dabo Swinney and a Dabo Swinney coach team significantly more than I trust Brian Kelly and a Brian Kelly coach team in close situations, in close games, in crunch time. And moving on, the next game I'm going to talk about is the Georgia Southern Eagles taking on the Fresno State Bulldogs. Fresno State coming off of a very poor showing this in week 0 against Kansas, but I do still think that they get the victory here. They have that extra game as they face Kansas. Hopefully, their offense can start to click more with EJ Warner at quarterback. So I'm going to go out and say that Fresno State gets the victory. Next up, you have the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors taking on the Arizona Wildcats. Hawaii actually coming off of a very close victory in week 0 over Stanford. So they have momentum going into this game. They looked pretty good against Stanford. They had, some mistakes that really could have cost them the game. Arizona is a team that, they're a Power 5 conference team. They're not really an upper echelon or Power 4 conference team. They're not really in the upper echelon of Power 4. They're kind of in the middle or so of the Pac-12. But I do think they are better than Stanford. So I do think they are going to be able to get the victory over Hawaii, although I do think it will be another close game for Hawaii, but I think Arizona sneaks out the victory here. Next up, you have a battle of two former Pac-12 teams as the California Golden Bears take on the Oregon State Beavers. These are two teams I don't really have a whole lot of analysis for. These are two teams that didn't really have great years last year. But I'm going to go out and say that Oregon State gets the victory. I think Oregon State's going to be able to get the victory over a former Pac-12 opponent. Next up, you have another battle of former Pac-12 foes. You have the Utah Utes taking on the UCLA Bruins. Utah has a revamped offense this year. They no longer have Cam Rising at quarterback after he spent 6 years or something at Utah. Kept finding ways to have eligibility. You have UCLA had a fairly decent year last year, but not all that great, being their first year in the Big Ten. But I do think that Utah, with their revamped offense and new quarterback, will still get the victory over UCLA. Next up, you have a battle of Power 4 opponents as Virginia Tech takes on number 13th ranked South Carolina. South Carolina finished last year very strong. They were one of the teams that just barely missed out on the college football playoffs. They had very close games against LSU and Alabama that they ultimately lost, but they had some very good wins last year. Virginia Tech had a down year last year. South Carolina is a very good quarterback in Lenore Sellers. Very good, energetic coach in Shane Beamer. So I'm going to go with the South Carolina hype train and pick South Carolina to win this football game. The second to last game I'm going to talk about is Sunday night as number 6 Notre Dame goes to take on number 10 Miami. Both these teams have new quarterbacks from last year. Miami going from Cam Ward to bringing Miami going from Cam Ward, bringing in Carson Beck, so a player that has lots of experience but did suffer an injury last year in the SEC Championship. So I don't know how he's going to look with that injury. Notre Dame going from Riley Leonard, so going from back-to-back years of experienced quarterbacks to having a less experienced quarterback this season. Still having Jeremiah Love, who I believe is going to be one of the top running backs in the nation this year. Miami, I don't know how good their defense is going to be. They had one of the worst defenses in all of college football last year. Notre Dame, I think, will still have a very good defense under head coach Marcus Freeman. So I do believe that I'm with thinking that Notre Dame's defense will be better, or will be very good. I don't trust Miami's defense. I do think that Notre Dame will get the victory here over Miami. Now, moving on to the marquee game, especially the marquee game for Saturday. Saturday at noon, you have number 1 Texas Longhorns going to Ohio State, take on number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State is the defending national champions. These two teams played each other in the playoff, and Ohio State won. Their two teams look a little different from them. They've lost some key pieces. Texas lost pretty much their entire starting offensive line from last year. Obviously don't have Quinn Ewers as starting quarterback anymore, as Arch Manning will be getting, going into his first season as the full-time starter for Texas. And then for Ohio State, they lost a big chunk of their starting defensive line. They lost a few, key offensive line pieces to the NFL draft. Their starting quarterback, Will Howard, is gone. They've got Julian Sayin, a Alabama transfer, who's going to be starting. But they're still two very talented teams. Some question marks at quarterback. But as much as it pains me to do so, because I am a Michigan fan and it pains me to pick this team, I am going to go with Ohio State to get the victory. I think they have two of the best players in the country. Jeremiah Smith, their wide receiver, is possibly the best wide receiver in the entire NCAA right now, and he's only going into his sophomore year. And they have Caleb Downs at safety, who is one of the top defensive backs in all of college football. I think those two players will be big difference makers in this game, and be key contributors, and be able to help pull Ohio State to the victory. So let me know what you guys think in the comments as to who you think is going to win. If you would like to see me try to do more college football content, if I have time, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.